In this video, we're going to talk about the player roster update feature. As you can see, I've already completed a few seasons. I started in 2022. But before we look at the player roster, we're going to look at the tour reports because the player roster update did affect the tour reports. The difference here is going to be over here on the player report side. As you can see now, you have a years active. This list here will be of every player who's ever been on your tour. Some players, like in this case, Tommy Aaron, was only playing from 22 to 23. Michael Allen from 22 to 25. Others, like a new player I added in 2023 called Mike Alpha, starts there. Others, I started in 2022 at the tour beginning, and they still are playing. So this will, like I said, give you everybody who's been on your tour, and this information that's in the tour reports will only be for the years they are active. Let's take a look like at Tommy Aaron, who is active in 22 and 23. If you try to get a report from 2025, let's say, for instance, the tournament results, since he wasn't active, you'll get a empty message saying, that he wasn't active in that year. For those that were active, say, let's take a group of them, and we're looking at 2025, those that were active in 2025 will have data. Those that weren't active will have the line that we saw with Tommy Aaron. See, there's Michael Allen, and then Fulton Allen was inactive, and same for Alker, I believe. If we try doing career, then you'll get similar situations. So let's take a look at all of these right here. And it'll list for the years that they had, that they were active over the career. So you see Mike Alpha, I started him in 23, so it's 23, 24, 25. Michael Allen, 22 through 25. Fulton Allen only in 22 through 24. Alker only in 22. And Tommy Aaron, 22 through 23. Which match up with their years active. We also have a new report called Stroke Percent Chances. We'll take a look at that for one player. And that reflects Stephen Ames. That reflects the scoring that you'll see that it takes part of the player roster update. The player here has a percent chance of scoring a number of strokes on a type of hole. For instance, he has a 1% chance of scoring a par 4 double bogey, a 15.5% chance of a par 4 birdie. This changes, the numbers change after every tournament based on his scoring in that tournament. So let's find one that shows a scoring difference or a report difference. There we see, for instance, like at the end of 2022, the numbers here at the end of the season, unless it's the current season, then it's wherever you're at in the current season. But at the end of 2022, Michael Allen had a 10% chance of getting a par 3 birdie, and that dropped to 9.7% as of the end of 2023. So now let's take a look at the actual player roster update. Now, like I said, you see I've already started into a few seasons here, and just like the tour course maintenance and the tournament maintenance, if you make the changes inside the demo tour or the tour that you create, the changes here will only impact that tour. If you make it out on the main screen before you create any tour, then it's going to affect the master database and affect any tours that you create after that. Also note that just like the tour course maintenance and the tournament maintenance, you can only change the player roster in between seasons. Once you initialize a season, you cannot change the player roster. Here we're between the 2025 and ready to start 26, and now's the time to update the player roster. And so you'll see the players here. See, notice there's no Fulton Allen or Tommy Aaron because they had already been deactivated. And so it only shows you who's on the roster as of that point in time after that season. So if we take a player, let's say Abraham Answer, and this is his data that we talked about, and notice it all add up to 100. He also will have the number of holes played, which affects the scoring as well, the likelihood of the scoring here. But we can change any of these numbers if we want to. Let's say his birdie chance, we want to change that to say a 20. And if he sits over 1.5, I try to update him, of course. He's got to make sure it's 100. So we got to reduce something or a combination by 5.1. So let's say we'll reduce his par chances down to say 65, what's that, 65.5 perhaps. There we go. We'll update him. And we can also test out these changes on any of the courses that are in your course database to see what the scoring would probably be based upon the percent chances here. This is using normal conditions, no wind and just normal green speed, normal green hardness, and no other conditions other than just random and these percent chances. You can play as many rounds or test out as many rounds as you like to get the average. You can even change courses in the middle. And so it's over a variety of courses. You can reset the test and start all over again if you want to. So you have all that information available to you to decide how you want to change these numbers. Notice that the numbers can greatly affect the scoring just by changing them just a little bit. You can clear all the data here if you want. Let's say we want to do this with Abraham Answer. We want to have clear out all the data, and we want to allow random data to be placed in here. If you leave all of this open like this and click Update, you say, do you want to replace the given data with the random data? If you say no, it returns back to the data that was there before. If I say Clear Data, say notice he has 20 in the birdie there, and we say Update Player, yes we do, then we'll get different data. So you can use that if you want to as a feature for updating the player numbers. You can always delete a player, just like come in here, delete, if you want to delete him, and say yes. And then delete it to remove from here. If you want to add a new player, let's say you're already, say, looking at Stuart Appleby and you decide you want to add a new player, just clear everything. And let's just add a new player here. Let's call it Mike Charlie. And we'll say the PGA Tour. And we'll say
on it.
We'll say the country is the United States. And let's say we just want to let him have random data. So then we'll click Add Player. And here comes the random data. And Mike Charlie is now added to the tour roster. I can come through and update, or I can test out this information just like we talked before. So if you try to update the player here, let's say I want to update the birdies here. One thing you got to recognize is that if they have a value of less than 1, if you try to put in just the dot first, you can't do that. It has to start with the 0 and then 0.5 we'll say. Okay, we got to make that 0.84 to add up so that'll be correct. Oops, that's only 96. We got to create by 4, we'll call that 4.8. Now we're at 100 and we can update. So that's the player update. Like I said, you have to do that between seasons. If we come over to the tour reports, you'll notice the change that we also made. I believe we deleted Abraham Answer. So now going forward with 2026 season, he'll only have data available for 2022 through 2025. And that is the player roster update feature.